If you were still trapped in a survival game where you and 11 others could predict when you'll die, what would you do? I'm here to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the mobile death game in Future Diary Part 2. But let's cool it on customizing our future with diaries for a second, and let's talk about today's sponsor, Opera GX. Other browsers aren't nearly as customizable or as capable as Opera GX is. So go crazy, go check out their wallpapers, their colors. You can even upload your very own background photo, which is so nice. And weebs, go check out their animated wallpaper through their Opera add-ons. We've got Spirited Away, we've got Demon Slayer, we've got Hunter x Hunter, and so much more. Also, OS browser design silliness shouldn't get in the way of you watching your anime. No. Instead, Opera GX gives you the power to separate the video from the browser, which will allow you to surf, work, study, and do it all while watching anime at the same time. Meaning more time with anime and more gaming, because this browser also comes with Twitch and Discord integration, which is so cool. And it also comes with an award-winning design and an even free VPN. Let me say that again, a free VPN. This browser's GX player is also designed to stream your favorite streaming services all in one place. I'm talking Apple Music, I'm talking Spotify, I'm talking YouTube. And whenever you're streaming audio or video, GX will auto-pause and resume once the tab is finished. Designed for quick import, you can import everything you need from the previous browser. Browsing history, bookmarks, cookies, import it in a matter of seconds. So use my link to download Opera GX today, and thank you Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Yuki here is the unluckiest guy in the world. He's been entered into a death game with 11 others and given a virtual diary on his phone that can predict the future. However, in this game, if your diary breaks, you die. The creator of this mobile death game is Deus, a literal god that is slowly dying as well. Only one lucky contestant will be chosen, and they will take his place as god of the entire world. Akise knocks on Yuki's door to find that he's not home, and that's when the detective's assistant rolls up in a car and tells him to hop inside. Before the trip, the assistant tells Akise that he's been researching the contestants of this survival game. He believes that Yuno took Yuki to a remote location to protect him from other diary owners. The next day, Akise brings Yuki's friends to meet the assistant, who tells them what's going on. Since they have diaries, the police won't be able to search them without being found out. The group agrees to help, but the task is more complicated than it seems. The resort is made up of several small towns, full of abandoned buildings. The group decides to split up to make the search faster. In one of the buildings, Kosaka complains that there's no running water, and Akise has a light bulb moment and realizes that they can narrow down the list of searchable places by checking those that still have working electricity and water. What? There's gotta be a better way to do this to find our runaway couple, instead of searching every single dang hotel with our group. Akise is a smart kid, yes, but for a world-famous detective, this isn't one of his brightest moments. Taking our time means Yuki is with Yuno another second, another minute. Yuno could go AWOL at any time, and if Yuki dies, the world is doomed. If I was Akise, I would have asked the detective assistant to bring along some of his buddies from the police station under the intent that Psycho Girl has our friend locked up in an abandoned hotel. That girl is nuts and truly insane. Her protection of Yuki, she is just as much of a walking time bomb to Yuki as she is a shield for him. Japan is a country not known for its widespread crime, so it's safe to assume that there should be a few officers that are having a slow day. Not only that, it doesn't matter how well you can deduce their location if the hot spring resort is comprised of multiple towns, all with dozens of potential hotels, motels, and nasty $20 motels where our kidnapped friend might be staying at. Just look at the size of this place. Now, if we estimate that we only have a single day to find them, we're going to be mostly relying on luck to find the exact spot that Yuno has taken him. This is all considering the fact that Freak Show Yuno is obsessed with Yuki and somehow hasn't been informed that we're looking for them already, which would likely cause her to go somewhere else. Both groups find themselves in the same hotel on different floors. They open the elevators just to avoid a pickaxe swinging out. Suddenly, the lights turn off and the boys realize they need to leave this hotel for their own safety. Meanwhile, the girls receive a message that tells them Yuki is trapped in the basement of the Grand Hotel. Hinata runs off alone to find him. The others meet up without her to discuss the text. Akise tells them it was faked by Yuno. Hinata here took the bait. That's when they receive a text from her saying that she's found Yuki. Akise here is skeptical, but they run off to go find them. Running into the Grand Hotel, they make their way into a room with an unconscious Yuki tied up. They try to wake him, but his head suddenly falls off. It's a trap, and the ex-bully Kosaka just walks in and locks the door. That's when poison gas begins to seep out of the containers. Shocked, Akise notices a surveillance camera and sends a message to Yuno. He asks her if she has 2 skulls with her and says that he went back to her house after she and Yuki left. He tells everyone that he found human remains hidden in a massive hole in her garden. However, 2 of the bodies were missing their skulls. Enraged, Yuno reveals that those were her parents' remains. Akise interrupts her to ask about the 3rd body, finding it strange that only one of the bodies still had its head screwed on. He proposes that he won't tell the police if she releases everyone, threatening to send a text to the police right now, but she doesn't respond. Kosaka sends out one final text, but he's used up all of his posts. Suddenly, the blog notifies him that he's ranked up and has been given future diary functions. Kosaka now owns the apprentice diary. Shocked, they check it out to find a text which shows how they can get out of this room and find Yuki. Kosaka crawls through the vent and out to the security room, finding Yuno and the others tied up. Suddenly, Yuki here begins to wake up and remembers exactly what happened when they went on their trip. Yuno gave him a poison can of coke, causing him to pass out on the spot. Once he woke up, he was trapped in this room. Kosaka reveals that he has a diary, and it predicts that he frees everyone and saves the day. Yuno admits defeat and tells him that she'll hand over the keys in exchange for her parents' skulls. Kosaka checks the diary to make sure everything's okay and agrees as she hands over the key to the gas room. He unlocks it but loses sight of Yuno, who shoots him with a crossbow. She explains that his diary is weak, only showing how he can succeed, not how he can fail. She has a point. While getting your own future diary is a blessing in and of itself, sometimes the biggest blessings can end up being your biggest curse. Why did he turn his back to her? She is a literal spazoid who's obsessive about Yuki to the point that she's willing to turn him into a vegetable and spoon-feed him for the rest of his days in a dingy basement. It's only me and Psycho Lady, and it doesn't look like anyone is coming to help us right away. The prediction on our phone is to release Yuki, but if it looks like a trap, smells like a trap, and sounds like a trap, then it probably is. While a crossbow bolt to the leg is pretty damn painful, at least it's not a gun. Once she fires a shot, it takes her time to reload the second one. If we don't do anything fast, then we might get another bolt stuck in our throat. If it were me, I'd not follow what our phone is saying anytime soon. We're physically compromised, so the element of surprise is the only thing we have. We have 3 options. Option 1, the closest thing to us is a chair. I'd grab it and have it between me and Yuno. Now she has to land a perfect shot through the spaces in the backrest of the chair to get to me. The best case, we block the shot and talk to Yuno, buying our friends time to get to us while we wait for a better opportunity. Option 2, when she turns her back to us and sees Yuki not in the chair, we grab the skull in the chair closest to us and we hit her in the side of the head as hard as we possibly can. Best case, she dies. Worst case, she's disoriented and we take the crossbow, load it, and shoot her. Option 3, since we're a subsidiary diary owner, that means we might be able to break our phones without the fear of losing our life. Of course, we would lose our predictive capabilities as we wouldn't have a phone to read them from. That being said, I would throw my phone directly at Yuno's head. While it's extremely far-fetched and has a 99.9% chance of failure, sitting around and doing nothing has 100% chance of us dying. If we're lucky, we somehow might be able to hit her in the right spot and knock her out, and we are now crowned a hero by our friends. Yuno threatens to kill him and turns to see that Yuki's chair is empty. He appears from the side and grabs her crossbow, slapping her in the face. He tells her that her diary is limited as well, since it didn't inform her that Hinata had kicked him the key to the chair. Suddenly, he gets a text saying that 3 diary owners are coming his way. The groups reunite, and freaky Yuno here begs Yuki to stay with her. He tells her to F off and walks out with his friends. The next day, Yuki asks Deus about these new diary owners. According to him, the 8th diary is on a server, and she's continuously making new subsidiary diary owners. That's when Yuki gets a new text from his diary. 3 subsidiary diary owners will be coming to his home in 3 days' time. They decide that hiding him in Kosaka's house is the best option for his safety. Akise tells him that they'll try to figure out a plan to stop the 3 subsidiary diary owners from killing him, but there's only one issue: Yuno. Her diary tells her exactly what Yuki's doing, so the chance of her getting involved is extremely high. 3 days later, the group takes him to Kosaka's place as originally planned. They talk about leaving police around the perimeter to keep him safe, but they know it's not going to help with the diary owners. When they arrive at the house, they notice a cell phone antenna tower, which in theory would be able to cut off the subsidiary diary owner's abilities. The group waits in the house until evening and gets ready for the 3 to force their way in. Suddenly, they see them running towards them through the field, and they get ready to activate the antenna. But someone cut the power, and the remote control doesn't work. Wondering who the hell cut the power, they see Yuno walk out of the house and promise to protect Yuki. Akise tells him that he and Kosaka will go and physically cut the signal on the antenna. Okay, that's a whole lot to take in. People are coming to kill us, Crazy Girl is back for more, and the group has decided that hiding us in a massive mansion with a ton of blind spots is the best way to beat these diary owners to the punch. Great. While our friends are trying their best to keep me safe, their best is not enough. path. We may have involved the police in our cause, but there's still a good chance that whoever wants to find us can find us. Heck, who knows, maybe these guys even have drones overhead that are watching our every move. Since we have a lot of people trying to keep us safe, why not go the extra mile and do something foolproof that will ensure our safety for at least a little bit? Other than going to school, there's nothing stopping us from simply hopping on a flight and getting the hell out of Dodge. I'm pretty sure that would be more effective than using the police currently stationed around Kosaka's house. I would have them make sure we safely hop on a plane without the entire airport getting bombed. While there may be diary owners coming after us, I'm pretty sure the airport security will be too much for them to handle, and they don't want to be on national news chasing some kid. Yuno here is tied up to keep them safe. They walk back into the house and see the assistant blown through the door. Two of the diary owners walk in and spot Yuki right above. These are the Sevenths. The assistant rushes the man and gets knocked out. Meanwhile, the group climbs up to the attic to escape, but the diary owners are on their tail. Yuki and Yuno manage to make it up, but that's when she closes the attic door shut. She tells them to untie her so she can handle business. Yuki is hesitant though. The diary owners make their way into the attic, and Akise cuts the signal on the antenna, disabling their phones. The diary owners are shocked, but pull out another phone and reveal that their diaries are still working. They knew their plan the entire time and played dumb. With that, the Sevenths easily take Yuki and Yuno out and take their diaries. The next day, half of the group is in the hospital and the mission a complete failure. Yuki and Yuno's diaries have been taken by the Sevenths, and Yuno has been out ever since. The nurse arrives and sits on the bed asking Yuki what diaries the enemy was using. Suddenly, she takes off her wig and reveals herself to be the Ninth. Well, that went well. That protection mission went horribly wrong, and it looks like we're screwed for the time being. However, at least we know the identities of another diary user, and they're very unique. Now, while it might seem like a pretty bad situation, especially with our walking psycho Yuno being down and out, it might be a good time to catch up on some R&R. It's been traumatic chaos ever since we got these diaries, and it might do us some good to chill out. Looking at the type of injuries we took, we could be suffering from the effects of a concussion. Post-concussion protocol states that a person takes at least 1 or 2 days off from rest, followed by light exercise. We might be surrounded by gods and crazy situations and power-hungry wackos, but sometimes you just gotta kick back and watch some TV. A few days later, the boys leave the Ninth to take care of Yuki. She tells him that she'll be preparing him to fight the Sevenths. That's when a man interrupts them to ask if he's found Yuki's room. Shocked, Yuki realizes this man is his father. They take a fitness test together to train for the Sevenths. Yuki asks him why he divorced mom. He explains to him that he was irresponsible with their money, amassing a debt of over 3 million yen. Later, the father runs inside the hospital room and tears the room apart. Calling a mystery number, he asks if his debt will be erased in exchange for breaking Yuki's phone. The next day, the assistant finds the location of the Sevenths. Yuki and his father watch the situation unfold on live TV, and they hear a ring, and Yuno picks up the hospital phone to hear the Sevenths. They tell her they can see everything they're doing, and tells them to bring the father, or else they'll break their phones. The three of them go to Sakurami Tower and walk in to see the Sevenths dressed in wedding clothes. His father greets them but gets punched in the stomach by the man. He reveals their phones and tells them he'll hand them over along with his if he beats him in a fistfight. Yuki rushes towards him but gets held up by the throat. Seventh throws him back down, and Yuki notices his father trying to break his phone. He snaps the screen off and Yuki screams for his life. Suddenly, Yuna runs towards the Lady Seventh and swipes her flowers. She realizes that the phones were fakes and hands Yuki's back to him. His father interrupts and begs him to hand his over. He promises that he'll buy him a new one once he clears his debt. Okay, first of all, the phones may have been fake, but Yuki could not have handled that situation any worse. The Seventh is doing us a favor by inviting us to a fist fight and not getting the jump on us somewhere out of the blue. But they wouldn't invite us to where they are if they weren't confident they'd win. The odds are not looking good with fighting hand-to-hand a bigger, stronger guy. Now I'd love to say let's go full-on Mike Tyson John Wick mode on this guy, but that's probably a bad plan. There's only a small chance that an untrained teenager is going to beat this guy in a fair one-on-one fight. We don't have the size, length, or experience to take him head-on. The odds are not in our favor. If we're fighting, we gotta fight dirty. With Yuki being the shorter fighter, when he grabs us by the neck, we gotta be fast and clamp down and bite as hard as we can, ideally biting off a few fingers. It takes the same amount of pressure to bite off a piece of a carrot with your teeth as it does to bite off a finger. Our legs are free, and the only easy shots we got are to the stomach, crotch, and the arm holding us up. People commonly think that shots to the stomach don't hurt, but there are two parts of the stomach that will incapacitate somebody if hit: the liver and the solar plexus. We either kick him in these spots or wrap our legs around his arm and push off of his body. Even though we're a kid and lighter than him, it's gonna be hard to hold a 115-pound kid in the air with his arm straight out. If we're lucky, we get a few extra freebie shots to his face before he lets go of us. We've now messed up his hand good and maybe even damaged pinched his arm with the weight of our body being held by one arm. If I was Yuki, I would start questioning the people in my life and whether they have a positive effect on it. First of all, we got crazy Sego lady who won't leave us alone and going as far as murder to keep us together, and now my deadbeat dad has arrived on the scene who's clearly not here to reconcile our relationship. I would say screw this guy, get our phones, and leave him to the sevenths. That's when an explosion happens from above, and this man on a loudspeaker tells them he's blowing up the building. Suddenly, the floor breaks from beneath Yuki. Both Yuno and his father rush to stop him from falling, but she manages to grab on first. The floor breaks from beneath the father, but the seventh grabs him and they run upstairs. Yuki and Yuno follow them to escape the explosion. The diary tells them that they're escaping by parachute, so they follow them in hopes of taking it for themselves. The sevenths leave the elevator and are surprised to see Yuno on her own. The male seventh runs towards her and knocks her out. He picks up her phone and finds out that Yuki's currently in the broadcast room. The male seventh goes to find him while Yuno here tries attacking the lady seventh while she's distracted. Running into the broadcast room, the man realizes that this was all planned. Yuki used the fake phone from earlier as a decoy. He checks his own diary to see that Lady Seventh is about to die by way of playing darts. He rushes back down to tell his girlfriend to watch out, and she misses the dart throw by an inch, but gets her throat slit by Yuno while distracted. She takes the Lady Seventh's parachute, but the father swipes it and jumps out of the building and leaves them to die. Trapped in the rubble, the Lady Seventh tells them that they're stuck and her boyfriend is going to win the game. Yuno threatens to cut her throat for real this time in order to make the boyfriend come save her. The plan works, and they hear him trying to push the rocks out of the way so he can save his girlfriend. He tells Yuki to help him by pushing upwards, and they manage to clear the rubble. However, they realize that the male seventh has been brutally wounded and is on his last legs. Yuki begs Yuno to come help them so they can successfully push the rock off and escape certain death. The next day, the contestants gather around to take out the mayor of Narukami City. They agree to band together for one day to kill the strongest diary user and make the death game fair. However, Yuki and Yuno have something else up their sleeve. Later on, Yuno sends out a signal to Yuki to begin the operation. Gathering other contestants, they get ready to take on the 11th in a temporary alliance. He details his master plan, beginning with himself occupying the mayor with his random diary. From there, he'll spread tear gas while everyone else rushes in. He tells this little girl Rin to keep count of everyone with her orphanage diary, and orders Taro here to guard the 8th and watch himself. This man here has the copy diary, meaning he can copy Yuno's diary and find out exactly what she knows. Meanwhile, the assistant drives the mayor to his destination, and that's when they get ambushed and the plan is put into action. Everything is going well, but a strange device is emitted from the car. The mayor reveals that he set up a jamming device to stop the 8th's subordinates from checking their diaries. Suddenly, Taro notices the man beside him shooting down his friends. Yuno comes running down the hill and chops the little girl's head clean off. Okay, that was pretty dang shocking, but it might have been pretty damn stupid. While we might have been able to take out a good majority of the diary owners, this little betrayal came a little too soon. With all these people banding together, we're missing a prime opportunity to take out one of the strongest diary owners in the game. If we really wanted to take everyone out in one fell swoop, I'd potentially make an agreement to have a ceasefire directly after the mayor and the 8th are taken out, so we have time to regroup and continue the survival game. Of course, that would be a bluff, so we can catch them off guard and take them out when they least expect it. The other diary owners look significantly less intimidating than the ones in the car, and they also seem to be much less powerful. Why else would we need to team up like this to take them out? Honestly, all we need to do is to send Yuno off to kill the remaining contestants after taking out the mayor's car, and winning the survival game will be a cinch. The entire thing was a trap, and this temporary alliance was just a way for Yuki to get what he wants. Yuno fights it out with Taro, stabbing him through the chest and killing him. Now everyone has been taken out, except for the matron. She runs into the assistant's car to get away, but Yuno finds a car that they can use to chase them. While reading her diary, she realizes that their car is going to be stopped, and Akise will appear out of nowhere. However, that's not all. The identity of the third body at Yuno's house will be revealed. Meanwhile, the 11th knows that they're being chased and has a plan up his sleeve. He directs the car in and out of traffic, but Yuno has an idea. She pops out of the window and readies her gun to hit the tire, but the car manages to dodge her shot. Yuki suggests that the 11th's diary might be similar to his, showing events around them, but not events that happen to them. Okay, I understand that they're in a high-speed car chase and Yuno doesn't have the same shooting capabilities of a Fast and Furious character, but they should still be able to derail the mayor's car with relative ease without causing any harm to themselves. Now, since they know that the diary is making it impossible to hit the tires, it might be better to forget about aiming at them completely. If I was Yuki, I'd tell Yuno to get back into the car and fasten her seatbelts. Since we know that the driver himself isn't a diary owner, we can do something that the mayor will never expect. Or maybe he would. But either way, he can't stop it from happening. happening. We have multiple opportunities to take these guys out. Rear-end collisions at low speeds can prove to be fatal for one that gets hit. If the mayor's car needs to slow down because there's incoming vehicles ahead, we can charge right into the back corner of their car and hope to send it fatally serving off into the highway. Assuming the entire highway is empty, which is highly unlikely, we can chase them off the highway and try to see where they're going. Who knows, both cars have to stop for gas at some point, and when that happens, Yuno can whip out her gun and begin massacring the defenseless contestants. Yuno takes this suggestion and aims her gun straight for the 11th, but the shot still misses. They need to do something quick, or else they'll lose their trail and the entire plan will be a complete failure. Yuki tries ramming the car against the railing, causing the railing to break and sending them flying onto another road. Taking advantage of the chaos, Yuno sticks a gun in the 11th's face, but he's not finished just yet. Suddenly, two people make a grand entrance on a motorcycle. They take their helmets off and reveal themselves as Akise and the 9th. He tells them he's been researching the DNA of the third body, and he's made a terrifying discovery. He throws Yuki a box found from Yuno's orphanage. Inside the box is Yuno's umbilical cord. Akise here compared the DNA of the third body to the umbilical cord, and the DNA was exactly the same. The third body belongs to Yuno. She's been dead all along. He tells Yuki to get away from her, but he doesn't believe him. Later, Akise's group, the 9th, and the assistant agree to team up and take out the 11th, who's located in the quad towers. They enter the towers in separate groups, and within seconds, the 11th knows they're already there. Okay, this is a big deal, and we're going to need to put a lot more thought into it if we want to stay alive. Obviously, the mayor is a pretty smart guy, since he's a mayor after all, with the quad towers looking like the tallest and most expensive buildings in the entire city. He'll likely gathered more than enough security to spot us or any other potential intruders trying to murder him. Walking through the front door of a gigantic headquarters operated by the mayor of the city is a surefire way to die instantly, so we should at least try to find some fire exits that might give us a small element of surprise. However, we should be careful to check if they're openable from the fire exit itself. It would suck to climb a 100-floor staircase and find out that they're locked out from the outside. Now that we've stated the obvious, there's some other preparations that the group could have taken with a little more time and thought. The first thing we need to realize is that the mayor is a diary owner. We should expect him to know our every move before we make it. Since we don't know what his diary actually does, we can't plan out much to keep us from being found. However, since the world is going to be reset anyways, breaking the law shouldn't be a problem, right? The group should be asking the assistant if he knows where to get guns. Now, it won't be easy to get assault rifles or anything crazy like that, but since World War II, all Japanese police officers have been given handguns, which they carry on duty. If we can infiltrate the assistant's old police station to look for weapons, or even take out a couple of innocent officers roaming the streets, we can get their guns and use them for ourselves. While it's not much, a simple weapon like this that we could conceal in our clothes will make our mission a whole lot easier. 9th and the assistant make their way up the stairs while he rewrites his diary to throw off the mayor. He watches them through the surveillance cameras and realizes what's going on. However, he has another trick up his sleeve. 9th and the assistant run through the hallways and get caught off guard by an explosive. The assistant jumps in front of her to guard her, but she realizes that her hand has been blown off. Suddenly, he's shot through the chest and falls to the ground. She drags him to the fire exit, but the man begs her to let him die. That's when these guards find where they've been hiding and instantly shoot. He jumps in front of her and takes multiple gunshots into his back, dying on the spot. Yuki reveals himself as the man behind everything. He used the 9th as a decoy, and he and Yuno are after the same thing. He brings her to a vault where he swipes a key card and manages to open the door. However, there's still one more door in the way. Yuki tries to input random passcodes to open the second door, but the 9th here decides that the mission was a failure and points her gun towards him. With fatal wounds, the 9th takes one for the team and reveals her dead man's switch. A bomb will detonate that's strong enough to break even the vault door. She sits down and waits for herself to die from blood loss while Yuki waits outside. However, when the door reopens, nothing has changed. The 11th sits in his room, thinking that he's completely safe. Suddenly, Yuno pops out in the corner of the room and points a gun at his head, shooting and killing the man instantly. The next day, Yuki realizes that there's only one more person he needs to kill, the 8th. He checks his diary and reads that Akise will be meeting with the 8th today. Akise and the others meet, and he tells the diary owner that he's thinking of handing her over to Yuki. Out of the remaining 3 contestants, he says that he's most suited to become God. He tells him that he thinks Yuno is plotting something and doesn't trust her one bit. Suddenly, large black orbs begin appearing all over the city. The world is ceasing to exist due to Deus' death. The only way to fix it is to become God and save the world. Akise visits Deus to discuss with him a certain matter. Will it be possible to save all of those who've died once a diary owner becomes God? Learning some important news, he leaves Deus' world to deliver Yuki a message. Meanwhile, Yuki runs to find the 8th's whereabouts. He finds the 8th hiding along with his friends from school. Hinata here tells him to stop hunting the 8th. Gods can't bring people back back to life. Suddenly, Yuno calls and says that they're all planning to betray him. He points the gun back at Hinata and shoots her. Moving on to the next, he mows his friends down one by one before moving on to the final target. Suddenly, Akise shows up and tells him to stop. Akise kisses him, turning her into a violent killing machine. They fight it out, but she ends up getting the upper hand, slitting his throat. Okay, what the heck is going on? In the past few days, Yuki here has experienced some crazy ass shit. Giant black orbs that are making the world disappear. Akise here has a secret crush on Yuki, and the 8th's head is hideously big for a girl of her size. At this point, Yuki has to be so confused as to what the heck is going on. Heck, he must be wondering why Deus decided to nominate a 14-year-old kid to be god of the universe. Either way, I'm pretty darn sure that Akise is telling the truth, and Yuno here is hiding some deep dark secret. Now, if it were up to me, I would probably be ready to give up and call it a day. Honestly, it might be better for the universe that the 8th become the next god instead of us. She looks like a nice, caring person and might be trustworthy enough to have her promise us that she'll find a way to bring all the people from this world back to life. If you really think about it, being god sounds like a whole lot of work, and Yuki here should probably want to focus on studying or something more normal. They find the 8th stuck under rubble, where she accepts the fact that she's going to die. Yuno stabs her, leaving only her and Yuki as the remaining contestants. Akise gets back up and tries to tell Yuki the truth, but he can't speak because of his injuries. Getting his phone out, he gets fatally wounded by Yuno before showing him a text on his phone. Suddenly, his head falls off of his body. That's when their diaries tell them that the world is going to end on July 28th. A day before the world ends, Yuki confronts Yuno about the lies that she's been telling him. Suddenly, she grabs an axe and swings it into the ground. She tells him that she was lying to make him happy. Since everyone was going to die anyway, he forgives her, but mentions that the message Akise showed said that Yuno has become god and went back in time. That's when she swings the axe towards his direction. Shocked, he runs out of the house and Murumuru pushes him into a massive hole. He falls down into a dream state, looking at a replay of the past, and Murumuru reveals that the world they're in is a second world. She transports Yuki to the Causality Cathedral, where the winner will soon be announced. Suddenly, Yuki begins falling, and she announces that Yuno is set to become god. That's when the 9th comes out of nowhere and saves him. They're transported 2 years into the past, where the world is back to normal. They've now created a third world, meaning that the evil Yuno is here, and she's going to kill her own copy to keep meaning Yuki and relive the same events. The 9th explains to Yuki that the easiest way to fix everything is to find the original Yuno and kill her. The 9th leaves them together, saying that this is far she's gonna go. Yuki walks through his old school, watching as his diary shows that the original Yuno is about to attack. He leaves the classroom to find the original Yuno waiting for him. They fight it out, as Murumuru tries to help her kill Yuki. Yuki runs towards Yuno and gets a knife thrown towards his face. He manages to avoid it, and the 9th comes back to stop Murumuru from interfering with their fight. He tackles her to the ground and says that she needs to go back to the second world and become god there. Suddenly, Deus's core, the massive flying object, knocks Yuki over. He wakes up in his own house where his parents are still alive and together. Confused, he runs upstairs and finds Yuno staring at him from above. She explains that this is a world she created, where all of Yuki's dreams have come true. He tries calling out to her, but Yuno doesn't exist in this world, and he can't even say her name. Yuki tells her to go back to the second world and become a god. If she does, then the Yuki that she knows will disappear. Okay, at this point, let's be honest. Nothing makes sense. The 9th has come back from the dead. There's multiple Yunos running around all over the place, and I'm beginning to forget the point of this whole mobile death game in the first place. Remember when this entire thing was straightforward? Yeah, neither do I. Either way, if I'm Yuki, I'm looking to get rid of anything Yuno or Yuno related. Seriously, this girl has enough problems to last an entire season of Dr. Phil, and if I was Dr. Phil, I would say I've had enough. Whether or not we can reset the world, it doesn't matter. We've come this far, and that means there's no turning back, folks. However, looking at the current situation, this might be the best possible scenario. Right now, Yuki's been given everything he's ever wanted: a stable family, a life with no worries, and certainly no diary owners trying to brutally kill him. If we think about it, it might be just in our best interest to forget everything that ever happened and pretend the whole thing was a crazy dream. Not only that, we've been thrown back into the past, meaning we can fix any mistakes we've made, pass any tests we failed, and go find another girlfriend that's not as nuts. The possibilities are endless, and they're all positive. She wishes him farewell, but gets confronted by the 9th. She attacks her, but Murumuru interrupts and takes the 9th on by herself. Yuno stares at her second world counterpart, getting ready to kill her and continuing the cycle of the survival game. She wakes up, and the original Yuno explains to her that life as she knows it is about to get much worse. Whipping out a knife, she gets ready to kill the helpless girl. Meanwhile, the police have arrived at the scene, and the entire city wonders what's happening. On the school roof, Yuki walks towards herself and stabs her. Suddenly, her dad shows up and guards his daughter from being killed. The mother appears right after and breaks down on the spot. The original Yuno realizes that Yuki changed their futures, meaning that all of their childhood traumas would go away. She decides to kill the entire family, but the detective fourth shows up and shoots her mid-sprint. Murder catches the bullet, and Yuki shows up in front of Yuno. He tells her to kill him and become God, but she can't find the courage to do it. She decides to take the final blow, dying in Yuki's arms. He's instantly crowned the winner of the survival game, and the entire world is brought back to normal. Now, 10,000 years have passed since Yuki became God. No one even knows his name, and Yuno lives out her days feeling as if she's missing something important. He wonders every day what happened to Yuno in the third world after he disappeared, with only a single diary entry to keep him sane.
And if you don't want to become the most powerful loner of all time, then like, comment, let us know what you liked and of course didn't like, and don't forget to check out the How to Be playlist down below.